Today I'm reading from Encyclopedia Brown, Keeps the Peace by Donald J. Sobel, Chapter 5. And if you're keeping track of your pages, it's going to be 8 pages for Together, Haynes Reads a Million. Chapter 5, The Case of the Wanted Man. I'm never going to shave. Encyclopedia glanced up from his book. Standing in the door of the Brown Detective Agency was 6-year-old Brian Horton. You're never going to shave? Asked Encyclopedia, pretending to be serious. But you must. Beards aren't allowed in 2nd grade. Shaving takes too much time, said Brian. When I grow up and get my picture taken, I'll just pull my beard off. Ouch, said Encyclopedia. Brian looked surprised. Does it hurt if you pull off your beard? Only around the face, answered Encyclopedia. The man didn't hurt himself, said Brian. He was smiling. What man? Said Encyclopedia. The man who pulled off his beard to have his picture taken, said Brian impatiently. What kind of detective are you? Talking with a boy of 6 wasn't always easy, decided Encyclopedia. He started over. Do you need help? That's why I'm here, isn't it? Said Brian. I want you to read the big words under the man's picture. It's hanging in the post office. Boy, he must be famous. Famous? Yelled Encyclopedia. He's a wanted man. Only dangerous crooks have their pictures hanging in the post office. Encyclopedia rolled out his bike. He put Brian on the crossbar and rode swiftly to the post office. After I saw the man pull off his beard, my mom took me with her to mail a package, said Brian. She got awful sore when I played with the stamp machine. She made me stand over there. He pointed to a bulletin board on the post office wall. A bunch of small posters were tacked to one corner. That's him, said Brian. The one on top. Encyclopedia saw 2 photographs of a clean-shaven young man. One showed him full-faced, the other from the side. There were small pictures of each of his 10 fingerprints and a line of heavy type, wanted for armed hold-up. Encyclopedia read further. William Matson, alias Billy, Bill the Kid. Below this was smaller type, giving Matson's long criminal record. Wow, this is a case for Dad, exclaimed Encyclopedia. He telephoned his father at once, then he questioned Brian. He learned that Brian now lived at the Beach Hotel, which his father had just bought. That morning, Brian had seen the wanted man, William Matson, get into his car, pull off his beard, and drive away. He wasn't going to have his picture taken, explained Encyclopedia. This photograph was taken 3 years ago. See, there's the date. The beard was fake. He wore it so nobody would know it was him. When Chief Brown arrived at the post office, Encyclopedia repeated what he had learned. Matson must not have seen Brian, said Chief Brown. Otherwise, he would not have risked taking off his beard. It probably itched, so he took it off as soon as he could. Do you think he'll come back to the motel? Asked Encyclopedia. Little chance of that, replied Chief Brown, but perhaps he left a clue in his room that will tell us where he's going. Chief Brown returned to the patrol car. Encyclopedia did not see him again till dinner. Chief Brown finished his barley soup before bringing up the case. William Matson spent a week at the Beach Motel under the name Bill Martin. He paid his bill and drove to the airport. How did you find that out, Dad? Brian's father writes down the license plate number of everyone who stops at the motel, said Chief Brown. Matson's license began with an E, the letter given to all rented cars in the state. We traced the car to the airport branch of Easy Car Rental Service. Did Matson get on a plane? Asked Encyclopedia. Very likely, said Chief Brown. But he uses so many different names that he can't be traced as a passenger. Chief Brown took a slip of paper from his pocket before continuing. Brian's father overheard Matson talking on the pay telephone, said Chief Brown. He didn't hear much except the words, ticket to Moscow. Matson wrote several places on a pad in his room. He forgot that his pencil dug into the sheet beneath. I had the writing brought out. Chief Brown passed the paper to Encyclopedia. On it was written Moscow, Odessa, London, Paris, Palestine, Athens. Matson must have been mixed up in jewelry thefts, said Chief Brown. He must have hidden in Idaville till he thought it was safe to move his loot. That list must be places where he hopes to sell the stolen jewels. Mrs. Brown picked up the piece of paper. She studied it for a long moment. It's a strange list, she said. 2 cities in Russia, Moscow and Odessa. Then look here. London is in England, Paris is in France, and Athens is in Greece, but he didn't list any city in Palestine. Well, that struck me as odd, too, said Chief Brown. I want Leroy to examine the list before I call Washington. I don't want the FBI to check planes landing overseas for nothing. Encyclopedia had closed his eyes. He always closed his eyes when he was doing his deepest thinking. Matson didn't fly across the ocean, he said. You'll find him in where? Here's the picture of the fellow leaving the beach motel. Definitely had the beard. Seems like that list is a little suspicious. Like, maybe those weren't places in foreign countries. Even though they are places in foreign countries. Let's look at the solution. Solution to the case of the wanted man. Encyclopedia saw what was wrong. The word Palestine. Palestine is the old name for Israel. If William Matson were going there, he would have written Israel. So Encyclopedia knew the list was not what it seemed at first. Names of foreign places? He told his father that Matson had flown to Texas, and that's where the police arrested him, in a motel in Palestine, Texas. Encyclopedia remembered that Moscow, Odessa, London, Paris, Athens, and Palestine are all names of towns in Texas. Case closed.